Let's take a look at how to lathe a spline. So I'm going to go create a freehand line first, and then we're going to head over here under the hyperNURBS, and we're going to choose lathe NURBS. So I'm going to go to my displays here, and I'm going to go to views. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the view. So let's go to where it says camera, and I'm going to choose the side. So I'm going to choose either left or right, doesn't matter which one. And then from here, I'm going to draw my spline. So I'm going to grab my Bezier and look at this center line here and try to imagine just drawing half of an object. So I'm going to just click and drag to draw the lip of a vase. And I'm going to make it a little fancy just to show you how this works. And this is really all you need right here, just the line. And if you want to modify it, just go back to your selection tools. And you can click on any of these points. And you can go ahead and grab the arrows, for example, and you can go ahead and modify them. So just drop some lines down or some points down, and you can go ahead and reshape your object. So just like when I'm in Adobe Illustrator, I just drop down a couple of points and then I tweak it from there until I get the shape that I'm happy with. And I'll move this down a little bit more. And I think that should give us an interesting shape. I'm going to return to my cameras, go back to perspective. I'll hit the center, and I'm going to now go to my model mode here. Now what this is going to do for us, I'm going to move this up so we can see it, is it's going to revolve the lathe around this spline. So let's go ahead and add that into our scene. So I'm going to go lathe NURBS, and here's our lathe NURBS. I'm going to grab my spline now in my object manager and drag it until I see the downward arrow, which will make this spline a child of the lathe operation. And there you have it. We have the beginnings of a vase. Now we can go ahead and tweak this if we want to in two ways. First of all, we can go to the lathe NURBS itself and we can make it look a little cleaner. For example, if we go to the object category, we can add more subdivisions. So if I deselect this, it looks a little jaggedy. It's a little beat up. So I'm going to once again go here and I'll increase my subdivisions to, like, let's say 48. Hit enter, return, and now look how nice and smooth that is. I'll return here again and I can do things like change the angle, which will open up the shape. So I'll go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. I'll just dial this down and I can pretty much open this up a little bit. Now what I can also do is I can go to scaling and I can kind of warp it a little bit. So it's a really cool way to modify the object. Let me undo a couple of times to show you that we could still modify the shape at any time by going back to the spline. So I'll return to the spline. And if I really need to hide the shape because it might be, let's say, bothering me, I can go ahead and turn that lathe visibility off. But I'll leave it on for now. And I'm going to go to my points mode over here, which will show me the points of this object. I'm going to grab a selection tool. All right, I can choose live selection or I can choose anything I want here. I'm going to grab a point and I can go ahead and manipulate the shape until I find something that's a little bit more to my liking. All right, so as you can see here, it's pretty cool. I can grab any of these points and I can continue to model. And that is a look at how you can create a spline based on our freehand category of tools here, our spline tools, and then make that spline a child of a lathe NURBS operation, and then take that lathe NURBS and modify it in some fashion so that you have a very interesting shape that would be a little bit more difficult to model in a traditional fashion.